Uh, Good morning on Friday. I think you've just come off a live with her upstairs. How are you all? Hope everyone's well. God, what a miserable day. We're all heading out into this absolutely hideous rain today. What horrible rain. But how does anything we're going through compare to anything that anyone else is going through in Gaza or the West Bank? Good morning on Friday. It's Friday, and I really want to tell Friday to hashtag F off Friday. That's what I want to say. Hashtag F off Friday. How are we all? How is everyone? Is everyone somehow holding their shit together? Is everyone somehow putting one foot in front of the other in this absolutely farcical fiction called democracy? I couldn't feel less satisfaction at seeing Keir Starmer's face plopping around our TV screens and heading around and going, "We were a brilliant victory for Labour. This is a stack." I feel absolutely nothing. Nothing. I feel nothing. I have never felt so little for a Labour Party in my life. I feel nothing. They should all be on the podiums with great big adverts on their chest like footballers are obliged to, like influencers and YouTubers and Instagrammers are obliged to, saying this is sponsored, gifted, or ad funded by XXX. I wouldn't, stand on the podium with funded by Israel. Just be honest. Be honest. Rather than kind of dangling the thought amongst all of us lot that are somehow engaged in democracy. There's no fucking democracy. Fuck this shit. It's an absolute nonsense. I've just watched Piers Morgan in some 4-way, 5-way interview. I couldn't watch all of it. This was the first thing that came on my phone, literally 7 o'clock this morning. And there he is, as these two expert presenter guests were saying to him, "You're a racist because you don't." The framework in which we approach everything is totally shot. It's skew with, it's fraudulent, it's fake. We have a mainstream media run by incredibly right-wing, self-interested, colonialist wankers. That's what we have. And they trot out the same old banal shit. Basically, Israel issues a press release and the Western press publish it. And a few publications might not publish it in full. They'll ask someone else a question, but everything, essentially everything still is it's the Israeli message. It's the propagandist message. It's the most... We're living in... I said to Naz, it's really weird because, of course, we've gone through the extra... I've got to get this out of the way first because I just can't... I can't abide Keir Starmer's smug face as he trots around thinking he's achieved... Keir Starmer has achieved absolutely fuck all other than being lucky enough to be the leader of the opposition at a moment and at the end of the most torrid, appalling, shameful bunch of Tories who've been in power for so long. After 13 or 14 years, no government stays in power. He hasn't done anything clever. He hasn't got a fucking vision. He hasn't got any solutions. He's got no bravery, not even any humanitarian international law expertise to know what the fuck he's saying or what he's doing. I mean, let's face it, no disrespect to any here, he fucking supports Arsenal. Do one. Do one. It's an absolute joke. And they're going to trot in and they're going to pretend to kind of, move the furniture around and they're going to say, "We're doing this, we're doing that." And they're all, I mean, literally. And I was sat there thinking, what the fuck do we say to youngsters? One thing that's happened in this country more than any other country, I think, in the world, bar America, in Europe, is that the Green Party or Green Party, political parties in our country, in this country, they're marginalised as vegan-loving eccentrics. We've never taken it seriously. We've never given it the same serious space. We have this one sort of exception, which is Brighton. I've been part of that. I've been kind of like in the past, Green, it's a wasted vote. Green, Liberal Democrats, where are they? Who are they? Where are they? But I'm getting to the point now where when you look across Europe and you look at governments which are built on proportional representation, where there's power sharing, Scotland, they had to power share with the Green Party. I think one has to move towards that. One has to move towards these non-standard conventional political parties because they're all the same fucking thing. So I feel zero. I feel nada. I feel diddly doo-doo. You know, with all these council wins, I don't care. I know people say, you've got to vote, you should vote. No, I'm going to rubbish. I've rubbished it. I'm going to rubbish the next. This is an outrage. We are being conned. We are being completely anaesthetized. We're being given a little bit of something to keep us quiet. And we fucking take it. We take it. What is wrong with us? I'm not saying you, but, you know, what is wrong with us? Why, I've done it for years. I accepted it. Any sort of thing. And that's why I think this crisis around Gaza has on the one hand, it's opened up a can of worms. It's revealed the truth of the narrative. But I don't feel kind of empowered by that. I feel slightly scared because what we're now in post, and I'm going to say some pretty blunt things here about the coverage and what aspects of the Gazan crisis have created kind of, if you like, outrage. We've got past a point now, unfortunately, where, you know, well, fortunately, we're not seeing as much of the devastation happening. Why? It's still happening, don't get me wrong, in the West Bank, and we're still, like this morning, 6 children killed this morning. It doesn't even make the headlines anymore. It's not news. But the numbers are dramatically less, so that's less newsworthy. We've been going for 7 to 8 months. It's less newsworthy. But let me give you this detail. There's fuck all else to destroy. I remember saying about 3 months ago, there has to come an end point of sorts when they've completely carpet bombed Gaza. It's literally a building site. There's more, in terms of tonnage, there is more rubble in Gaza than has been created in the whole of the Ukraine war. The whole of the Ukraine war. Just imagine that. The footage we showed 2 days ago, because it was official footage, because of course you can't trust anything, because, you know, what's happened here is we've got this fabulous kind of wraparound that the propagandists can say, which is as soon as you say the word Hamas, they know the vast majority of the members of the public are going to shut the fuck up, step away and go, oh, extremism's at work here. So what's happened? They're calling everyone in America who's protesting Hamas. They're all Hamas. Everyone is Hamas. Keep saying Hamas, and not all of us, but the vast majority of people step back a bit because they don't want to be drawn into that contention. They don't want to be seen to be, because what's happening here, it really serves everyone, especially Israel and their allies, us and America, to keep confusing and fudging things so that when we talk about Palestine, it's Hamas. When we talk about criticizing Israel, it's anti-Semitic. The biggest worry in the American government yesterday, they've passed a bill that essentially makes it impossible to criticize Israel.
That's what I just wanted to say. I just read it. Hi guys, love you all.
Yeah, making it impossible. They're making it so complicated, so nuanced, that if you criticize Israel in any way, the suggestion is that it's a collective act of anti-Semitism. This is the slow encroachment, not even slow, but this encroachment of thought and ideology and critical thinking is petrifying. It's petrifying. I think this is a scarier moment, though obviously not to the poor fucking Gazans, nor to the poor fucking families of the hostages, this absolute farcical notion that this whole thing was about rescuing the hostages. Netanyahu has had zero interest in rescuing the hostages, so whenever anyone says what about the hostages, redirect them and say, ask him. Ask him. It's an absolute outrage. And I think where we're at right now is an infinitely more scary moment for us in the West, because we're now having students I just saw footage of a police officer spitting on a Palestinian flag in America. Spitting on a Palestinian. There is such racist contempt for the Palestinians. There is such contempt and Islamophobia that is so embedded in the West, because we can't distinguish between militarism and militantism and Muslim people or people of Arab descent. We can't. We literally can't. They can't. It's like a Disneyland character portrait of an entire culture and an entire region. And this is the scariest moment. This is the scariest moment. To cast what so many young adults, disenchanted with Biden, disenchanted with the political system, to cast them, as we have done in this country, as hate marchers, as anti-Semites. This will not be forgotten. This will not be forgotten. And I think baked into all of this, I hate to say it, though I didn't think it was a great film, this is where the civil war is going to... Trump is going to seize upon this. All of these protests are going to be characterized as an extremism that isn't a humanitarian response to an extremism in the Middle East. The extremism has come from the Israeli occupation and continued illegal settlements in the West Bank and essentially the kettling of an entire population in the Gaza Strip. That is the extremism that has led to other extremism. But now the West needs to characterize anyone who wants to stop the murder of innocents. The West wants to characterize anyone saying that as Hamas. And we are allowing a precedent. A good example, I think Nadia mentioned it on her live upstairs, Sky reporter at the protests in America. And this speaks to the absolute... We really tiptoe around how we talk. I mean, sometimes it might seem like we're just going for it, and we are just going for it because there isn't enough real emotion expressed in this. But we're tiptoeing around what we've learned from all of that off-commeriness and all of the kind of guides and rules and regulations. You can't say this, you can't say that, and you shouldn't say this. And you need to be balanced, and you need to get your sources from more than, every fucking month I look at my subscription to the Telegraph, and I sticks in my throat, and I think this is important. We need to see all points of view, not just be in our own little warren. But then when you see these points of view, oh my God, the propaganda is staggering to behold, and it's best to know what your enemy's doing. It's best to know what the enemy is doing. And this reporter, which speaks to, I hate to say, an absolute paucity of experience or know-how when it comes to journalism, said, oh, I can hear anti-Semitic chants, but I can't, and said, I can't quite hear what they're saying. No disrespect to kind of media courses, but that was like top drawer foundation media studies. You go back to because we can't really claim that you've heard anti-Semitic chants if you couldn't make out what they were saying. That's one point. You certainly can't say you heard anti-Semitic chants if you then say on your broadcast you can't hear what they're saying. But the broadcaster keeps showing it. We're fucked. This is fucked. The whole thing is fucked. It's fucked. And what's happening is more and more rational, good brains, sensible brains are being gaslit, and I include myself in this today, and I've just seen it on Piers Morgan's Uncensored. Check it out, his latest kind of 5-way interview. More and more rational, reasonable, and analytical, or people trying to come from both sides. We've talked a lot before anyone jumps up and down about it on here, on what the right steps forward could be, would be, should be, and how the optics on a ceasefire and then securing a two-state solution could be. I used to think this was impossible because the fucking papers and all the politicians said it's impossible. It's not actually that impossible. It's not actually that impossible, but it requires sitting down and it requires a kind of collective, communicative, discussion. But they don't want us to think that. No one has a vested... Israel, America, and here have no vested interest in the idea that there's a potential solution. Of course they don't. Why are Israel constantly jabbing at the West Bank? Today, settlers today are currently besieging a Palestinian hill to clear out Palestinians. This is happening because they have a vested interest in making the Palestinians in the West Bank, who aren't ruled by Hamas, officially. They're creating such discontent, they're creating such resentment in the one part, if you like, of the Palestinian nationhood that at the moment can't immediately be dismissed as Hamas. They're creating such a tinderbox that if anything blows in the West Bank, or there's a shift to more extremism, they can then go, it's Hamas. This is the classic narcissistic fucking trade-off. Punch you, punch you, punch you, but you made me do it. Punch you, punch you, punch you. And then when you hit back, what are you doing? I didn't do anything. I punched you. It's staggering. Staggering. I tell you what it is. It's unbearably stupid. It's insufferably simplistic. It's frighteningly manipulative. It's shockingly inhumane. And our press just goes, and what our editors of these papers do is, well, it's how that, the ICC, they want to arrest Netanyahu. America is threatening get your head wrap your head around this one, guys. America hasn't sanctioned Israel. Let's not forget, we talked about it. Netanyahu said, I won't accept sanctions. If you're a sanctioned person, you haven't got a choice. So they haven't sanctioned Netanyahu or the government. They've sanctioned maybe 2 settlers who've driven their buggies into, right? But America will sanction the officials of an international court in The Hague if they issue arrest warrants for Netanyahu. Now, the press will want you to think that the ICC is Hamas. Can we not see through this? Come on, guys. We need stand-up comedians. Like, is it Bassem? Everything is Hamas. If something goes wrong in your day, it's Hamas. But America will issue sanctions against officials in an international court, the International Criminal Court. They will issue sanctions against officials who bring any prosecution against Netanyahu, any charges against Netanyahu and other members of the Israeli government. Okay, so there's big fear that these warrants for arrest are going out. It won't change anything for Israel or the Palestinians, but it will change things for where Netanyahu can plod about in the world. What the press isn't reporting is the ICC is also going to issue the same things, same, charges and same arrest warrants for the perpetrators of October the 7th. This isn't an imbalanced approach, but what we're not allowed to accept here is we can all condemn October the 7th, but we're not allowed to condemn an infinitely more extreme clusterfuck of a situation that's happened for the 7 months afterwards. And, come on, it didn't all start on October the 7th, everything that went before. Come on. Come on, the arrest warrant isn't even pertaining to this. It's staggering. Shit journalism. Journalists and journalism who just don't look at it and go and hide behind. This is the other thing that's wonderful about social media. Loads of people hiding behind, well, I'm not allowed to express a political opinion. It's not about you don't have to express a political opinion to discuss the inherent contradictions or to call out. The job of a journalist is to be able to fully occupy both sides of the equation and challenge on both sides. But all you get, or all we're getting, is the challenging constantly of the Palestinian side, or the propagandist kind of representation of the Palestinian side as somehow Hamas. It's Hamas. Everything is Hamas. I pulled my knee on the running machine the other day. It must have been designed by Hamas. I spilled my coffee down my top the other day. The coffee bean, it comes from Hamas. It doesn't. Oh, God. And that's why, of course, we're not, in a serious, a literal physical sense, the Gazans are. The footage isn't coming out because, there has been a reaction about, prepare for Rafah. And I think if Rafah happens, the invasion of Rafah happens, it's going to be an even different affair. Why aren't more journalists asking every Israeli official put their way why journalists can't go into Gaza? Why aren't more journalists actually demonstrating their journalistic right and protesting perhaps even calling out, even sanctioning the coverage of other aspects of the Israeli story. They're not being, you can't have news coverage if one entire half of the news coverage is disallowed. That's not news coverage. Israel knows that. Israel knows that. They say it's not safe. They say it's not safe. You have to let journalists be the judge of that. It's journalists who are the judge of safety. The media don't care enough. The media don't care because the vested interests of the state are in them. Keir Starmer, behind the scenes, has been spending most of his time charming the Sun, charming the Telegraph, agreeing that the Telegraph shouldn't go into any other kind of ownership. The Starmer is the most unspeakably spineless individual who, like every Labour Party politician since the immediate post-World War II Labour government that created the welfare state, they just bend to fit the narrative. They bend the Labour Party to get to the right place. It's smoke and mirrors, guys. It's all smoke and mirrors, all of it, smoke and mirrors. But anyway, going on and on and on. So for me, that's why in the title it's Pointless Elections. What's her name? Sangeeta, a journalist from the LBC. They haven't said it's officially that she's been fired, but it's interesting that she's been removed from LBC subsequent to a challenging engagement or interaction with a senior Israeli official. Interesting that, isn't it? Interesting. They can't get rid of James O'Brien, or they won't get rid of James O'Brien because there would be too much of an outcry. So what are we saying here? But they haven't confirmed that. Replaced with Vanessa Feltz. Curious and interesting replacement. If I'm right, I don't know particularly what Vanessa Feltz's political comments have been on that, but the optics on that are curious. They just are. It's just strange. They need to give a reason as to why the original, journalist was removed. And Sky needs to stop repeatedly, playing a film in which within the report, the claim of anti-Semitic chants is then described as being unclear and not for sure, are they anti-Semitic? I mean, I'm promising you, this is an insult to media studies A-level. What we're all going through and what we're receiving, I hate to say it, and because we're all busy and we're all dealing with our own shit and we've all got our own, we have to curate what comes into us. Yes, we are, Francesca. We have to curate what comes into us on a daily minute-by-minute basis, don't we? And in that process, they know that. They know we have to get on with other stuff and think of other things and push on. So it's a war of attrition, but the war of attrition coming from the mainstream media is one of it's a war of omission and attrition, or a war of attrition by omission. Just don't talk about it. Just don't talk about it. And we'll move on and we'll move on. Just don't talk about it. And by the time we and then it's like at the moment, what's resurrecting it now is the appalling, slanderous ways in which these young peace-loving protesters, of which there are hundreds of Jewish protesters protesting for peace, wanting an end to this horrendous situation, are being cast as Hamas. Hamas. I didn't want to speak on behalf of Vanessa because I haven't actually read in full of all of the characters that we've seen at play in this. I haven't actually been drawn to Vanessa Feltz's sort of take on the entire crisis. I know that she's talked of being pro-Israeli in the past, so but I haven't gone there. Ugh. So that's why we have pointless elections. What a load of old bollocks. Continual Israeli propaganda. And then it gets to sex in public and shit sitcoms. So, okay, it's Friday. Fuck off Friday. I think we've told Friday to fuck off. So in a New York park, Battery Park, oh, look, so what's that? Ellery Jones, that's incredibly sweet of you. Just gifted 5 family guest memberships. It's going to be a live No Name Sunday show this weekend, which will be nice. We'll do the papers. We'll have a book. I think Nanny Dies in the house. It's going to be nice. Nice little relax, kind of chin wag and catch up on Sunday. Bless you, Elaine. It's just, it frustrates me. And what frustrates me, just finally on this, the thing that frustrates me so much is that if I'm feeling like, so many people will be feeling a sort of gagging frustration, like they've been gagged. And not because people aren't intelligent and not because people don't care, but because it takes a lot of it does take a lot of mental gymnastics and acrobatics and I've got one of those brains that just gets fucking, goes nuts with it. And it's not about people can't understand it. It's just difficult to navigate. And I just think people give up at the first block or the second block, and then there's competing news flow, and it's like someone has said, I don't get it. And I get that, and it frustrates me. It frustrates me. Like, so you're saying, Phil, so helpful. It frustrates me because if you could see the simplicity and essence that's behind all of this, you would be, well, the problem is, and this is where we're in a this is where we're trapped. You would feel furious and you would feel like a need to kind of protest. And then when you protest, you'd become part of the problem because you'd be Hamas. You'd be Hamas. Hamas. I think Hamas should rebrand their name to hummus. Wasn't someone arrested for saying something about hummus? I mean, it's the whole fucking thing is shocking. But there's no satisfaction coming out of this, calming down, because the problem doesn't go away. All I would say is this. If I was in a media studies class, all I would say is this: keep your enemies close to you, but keep your wits about you, and don't believe anything you're reading. Anything. So me and Nadia were saying this morning, the senior operatives in Hamas are horrible. They're horrible. No one's sitting here as a defender of Hamas. We're talking about Palestinian people and understanding that their fury and frustration has morphed into extremism. JFK's brilliant quote: if you disallow peaceful protest, I'm gonna fucking paraphrase badly, but disallow peaceful protest, and you will essentially encourage violent protest. If you disallow peaceful opposition, you're going to cause violent opposition, and that's what it absolutely sums up everything. Don't get me going on all of the bloody potential conspiracy theories around JFK and what was going on with the whole creation of Israel and the Middle East and everything like that. My God, it just gets wow. Anyway, so yes, New York Park couple. I had a look at this. This was a story yesterday in The Sun. So we're going to talk about just sex. Has anyone here? This is a huge gear change. And I know that for a fact, Dina is probably going to be the first to say, yes, I have. Have you ever had sex in public? Has anyone? This is a TikTok post that went viral from Battery Park in New York, which alleges that they saw a couple go underneath some blankets and start to have some what have you. I've looked at it. I'm not going to show it. I am off mark, says Tuna. I'm not going to show it, but I don't think they were. I don't necessarily think they were. But then it led me to think, sex, what is that? Yeah, once. Has anyone ever done it? I just wanted to ask the question. Has anyone ever actually, done it in public? Some people, but kind of worse. I didn't believe this. So this I think is one of those classics where New York City park couples shock onlookers by having sex under blanket as viral video triggers a TikTok storm. They could have as easily been going under there to sort out their packed lunch. Do you know what I mean? Nicky Bill, it's got naff all to do with religion. They shouldn't block people wanting to go to class. Jenny J, they shouldn't block people wanting to go to class. Okay, give us a bit more. Why? Why shouldn't they? If it's a peaceful protest, I mean, I think people are allowed to go. I think, how do you know they're blocking people from going to class? I mean, I was involved in peaceful protests at college because the female safety was bad in the college. The only way you get a protest to be heard is you cause some kind of disruption. I can't think of a single student that perhaps wouldn't have wanted a bit of time off class. But anyway, even if they are blocking people go to class, are you saying they're Hamas? Is that what you're saying? Is blocking people going to class make you Hamas? That's the question. Does that make you Hamas? I don't know. Maybe. Oh, and in a hot tub on our balcony, Laura S. Did you? Hannah Liebschutz. I remember in the middle of an aqua aerobics class, there was a couple dry humping in the hot tub. They only stopped because people were laughing at them. I literally can't begin to imagine what sort of personality you can be to not feel self-aware. I mean, I know some people get off on it. Heather Draper, it was funny how the couple just sat there trying to look like nothing had happened when they came out from under the blanket. Yeah, which led me to believe maybe they didn't look. I mean, I don't know. Can you look like you have sex? That's a stupid thing to say, isn't it? Do some people look more like they'd have? I don't know. Once on a mountaintop in Greece, Jackie Valino. Was it Mount Olympus? Or Mount... Well, no, Mount Fuji's in Japan, isn't it? I think I might have been up that mountain, actually. Not when you were there, obviously, Jackie. But I know what you mean. Greece lends itself, doesn't it? Greece lends itself to all that sort of stuff. Because you feel there's sort of abandoned places. You lot are filthy, says Nicky Bull. A bit of an archaeological dig. I think maybe that... I don't want to go into what my thing with archaeology and sex is. It's weird. Kevin Spacey has said that Channel 4 is a load of old shit. He says this is a desperate attempt to get ratings. This is a new documentary series that's going to throw a load more shit at the wall about Kevin Spacey. You wonder whether, you know, given old Weinstein. Sorry, I can't get his name right. You wonder whether the appeal and all that, are more and more people going to challenge the verdicts, read the whole hashtag Me Too thing. But this is a documentary series that Channel 4 are going to be showing with more accusations against Kevin Spacey. He's trying to get ahead of the story. Have you in the past, Mark? God, that's a tricky question. Yep, but I didn't mean to, and I wasn't in a fit state to know really what I was doing, though I remember doing it. So so Weinstein, yep, he's sorry, Kevin Spacey. Oh look, I've just seen Netanyahu's face. Not going to deal with that story, which is what Boris Johnson. Just quickly on the election thing, Boris Johnson wasn't allowed to vote, or he was turned away from the polling station because he forgot his ID, and this was the man who brought in the ID. Oh God, God help us. Faulty Towers. This is one of the stories I really wanted to talk about. Faulty Towers star creator John Cleese seems to have got. I don't know whether he's taken a chill pill. Has he taken a chill pill? I think he might have done, because he's kind of coming out with stuff that's kind of like, well, you know, I suppose some people who don't like things, you know, trigger warnings. I'd have thought he'd be anti-trigger warnings, but he's like, well, you know, we've got to give some people, we've got to throw them some red meat and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. Maybe he's softening in his kind of weird sort of I don't really know what his politics are. Anyway, he's knocking about because Faulty Towers is becoming a stage show, but he makes this quite strident claim, and I want to ask you if you agree with it. John Cleese says TV comedy has been ruined so much that people can't name more than one or two sitcoms. Now, I want you to name sitcoms. Yeah, Faulty Towers is becoming a stage show. I want you to name sitcoms, not old sitcoms, but name two sitcoms from the last 5 years. From the last 5 years that have been created from scratch in the last 5 years and have become classics. In the last 5, so I'm not talking about Gavin and Stacey, nothing that, you know, or Mr. and Mrs. What's Mrs. Thingy's People, the one strange one, the man in drag who's the mum. If I kind of reach to sitcoms, if I immediately think of sitcoms, well, British Empire, there you go, that's old. Modern Family started yonks ago. Any new ones? The only one I can think of that really cut through, is it This Is England, or This Is Britain, or This Britain, or this, the one with Daisy May Cooper and her brother in it. Mrs. Brown's Boys is the worst program I've ever seen. I have to confess, I watched one and I thought, wow, I haven't laughed once. The Lee Mack sitcom. I tried that too. It felt very... Oh, I haven't seen Alan Carr's new one. It felt very sort of, here's the gag. Not going out, Two Doors Down, Alma's... Oh, here we go. Look, This Country, that's what it was called. This Country. Two Doors Down on BBC. Not sure if that is classic, but enjoy it. Does anyone agree with him? Sarah Small, Motherhood. Yeah. Mrs. Brown Boys makes me ashamed to be Irish, says Zoe. I'm sorry, sweetie. Bev Berry, I've been listening to loads of Stray Kids, 17 and Months. Bad Education, Good Ship Lollipop. What's that one that I keep seeing at? What's the one where there's a young estate agent, is he? Friday Night Dinner. This Country is the only one. Is he an estate agent or something? The Richardson. See, you're saying all these words, and are these classic in-betweeners? I tell you, for example, the other day I came in and came in and sort of Saturday I thought, oh, I'm going to chuck on the Peep Show, pissing myself with laughter. Motherland is brill. I don't know what is it. What is Motherland? I'll check that out. State lets flats. Is that good? Is that good? I checked out this. There's a new one out, isn't there? Is it Bad Mood? Now look, look. Don't get me wrong, and it's not aimed at my. I get that, but I'm capable of fucking getting down with the kids if I want to get down with the kids. Is it Bad Mood? Was that what it's called? I didn't laugh once. It wasn't even that the comedy wasn't necessarily funny when it had been written on the page. I'd love Lee Peart's input on this. You've got two constituent aspects to good sitcoms. Is you've got to have funny script, the it crowd, yeah. You've got to have funny script. You've got to have good comic actors. And I think you can't just have comedians. I mean, you can get some comedians who are great comic actors, but I think, you know, for example, it's the reality of the situation. Sitcoms, situational comedy. I think the reason this country worked so well was I so bought into it. The Derry Girls, is that fun? You know, Big Bang Theory. Yeah, I've tried that too. It didn't really. What's the one that Maddie watches a lot? Is it Superstore, the American one with America Ferrera? Motherland is Life. Yeah. Yeah, so Country Pumpkin, this country is 100% accurate. Do you know what I mean? Leader aren't plebs. Is that the one? Is that the Roman one? Is that right? Yeah. There was the one about the kind of metal detectorists. It's not a sitcom. Is it a sitcom? Derry Girls is only funny, says Zoe, for me, as it reminds me of growing up in Ireland. But I suppose in a better way than Mrs. Jones's. What's the one with fucking Mrs. Bob's kids and all that? I'll tell you what, I watched that, and him swearing and screaming. It wasn't. I love swearing. I love rude. I love awful. But anyway, look, you're all chucking loads of names here, but I don't think any of the names you've said there, bar possibly this country, are going to be considered classics in another 10 years. Personally, I don't know. Citizen Khan, you see, Julie, I tried that. It didn't do it for me. Does anyone remember the Kumars, which was the kind of comedy chat show? I love that. Oh, Lee, you're a sweetheart. There's very few that make me laugh, says Heather Draper. Would you call Fleabag a sitcom? I'd call it a dramedy. There's this new phrase, isn't it? A dramedy. Okay, we're going to do quiz of the week, guys. Let's get us into Friday feeling vaguely like we don't want to throw ourselves off a cliff. So, yeah, well, I was going to apologise for but no, I think more people need to get passionate about this. I think you need to, and I think you should all, you know, hector and badger everyone in your life and make sure just challenge everyone you meet in your life and say, what's your take on this crisis? Have you thought of it like this? That's all we can all do is just do little nudges with people. If there's someone in your life that's not ever mentioned the Palestinian crisis or the Gaza war, ask them, say, what do you think about the Gaza situation? Anyway, quiz of the week. Let's do it. You ready? Got your pens and paper ready? Got your pencils ready? Okay. Question 1. Actress Emma Stone revealed that she would prefer people to use her real given name, Emily. I like the name Emily. Which Emma inspired the 2-time Oscar winner to adopt the name at the beginning of her career? Was it A, Spice Girl Emma Bunton, B, actress Emma Thompson, or C, Jane Austen heroine Emma Woodhouse? Which of those Emmas inspired Emma Stone to call herself Emma rather than Emily? Was it A, Spice Girl Emma Bunton, B, actress Emma Thompson, or C, Jane Austen heroine Emma Woodhouse? I want to punch Jane Austen's characters in the face. Sorry, they bore me. All of them. Every single one of them. And believe me, when I say that, I was on my own in my English class. Everyone else loved it. I just couldn't bear it. I was like, oh, this is boring. Lots of you saying, hey, Emma Bunton, you're absolutely right. Didn't think we'd get to Jane Austen here, but we did. Scotland's First Minister and SNP leader, Humza Yousaf, possibly the only leader vaguely in this country who said anything vaguely related to Palestine, because he actually had real skin in the game, has stepped down after a little more than a year in the role, after ending a power-sharing deal with the Scottish Green Party. Who has had the shortest reign as Scotland's First Minister? Was it A, Donald Dewar, B, Henry McLeish, or C, Humza Yousaf? Which of those three has had the shortest reign as Scotland's First Minister? A, Donald Dewar, B, Henry McLeish, or C, Humza Yousaf? The racist abuse Humza Sadiq have got simply because they are of colour. You know, it's quite staggering. Tina, I was with you, Mark. I got chucked out of English Lit for sharing my thoughts on Jane Austen. I mean, not, you know, people always, and what really annoys me is, well, you, Dina, you used to have had one particular woman who, lecturer, a professor, who said, you've got no sense of humour. And I was like, I fucking have. And I'm telling you right now, she's not funny. I said she might have been funny in a really quiet, dusty drawing room when all that you can hear is your grandmother upstairs in your sort of stately home farting. Maybe she might be funny there, but sorry, I ain't gonna read her book. Got all the way to the end of Emma, and I was like, fucking hell, it's not even finished. Sorry. It's B, Henry McLeish. Question 3, Manchester's beleaguered new entertainment venue Co-op Live. What a fiasco this is. Can't turn the lights on, can they? Had to postpone its opening night for a third time as it struggled to ready itself for live audiences. Who had been due to headline the official opening on Wednesday? Was it A, rapper A Boogie with the Hoodie? Sorry for my utterly kind of hip-hop-like language there. B, comedian Peter Kay. Or C, singer Olivia Rodrigo. I think you'll know this because we talked about it. Oh, no, sorry, I was wrong. Don't think what we talked about earlier in the week is the answer, because it's not. Who was due to headline the official opening? Was it rapper A Boogie with the Hoodie? Or is it B, comedian Peter Kay, or C, singer Olivia Rodrigo? I said B, but yeah, it's A, rapper A Boogie with the Hoodie. I don't want to say it anymore. How do you say that in a cool way? I can't say it. It's A. Question 4. Dozens of pro-Palestinian protesters at Columbia University in New York City were arrested after police raided a building the students had taken over. It's because they're Hamas, don't forget. After which of America's founding fathers was the building named? Was it A, John Adams, B, Benjamin Franklin, or C, Alexander Hamilton? After which American founding father was the building that the Columbia University protesters took over? Was it A, John Adams, B, Benjamin Franklin, or C, Alexander Hamilton? Oh, Julie, your dad was an extra. Fantastic. What in? The something? Was at the soft launch of the arena opening, says PF. Everything was free on the night, food and drink, because it was still unfinished. That's kind of all right, though, isn't it? That's quite nice. Sorry, that was a C, Alexander Hamilton. Question 5. Scientists produced a reconstruction of what a Neanderthal female would have looked like when she was alive. Which part of the 75,000-year-old skeleton did the team examine to establish it belonged to a woman? Was it A, the chest, B, the pelvis, C, the teeth? Which of those did they examine and went, wow, this is a 75,000-year-old woman? Is it A, the chest, B, the pelvis, or C, the teeth? She looks quite familiar, actually. I'm looking at an image of her. Yeah. Pelvis, says Faith Goodman. Teeth, says Laura S. The answer, I've literally burnt bright and now I've exhausted myself. The answer is C, teeth. Question 6. The Chicago Bears made Caleb Williams the first overall pick of American football's annual NFL draft of college players. None of that means anything to me. The University of South California's star was one of 6 quarterbacks, I'm still struggling, taken in the first round. Disorientated again. Which of these players was not among them? Clued. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So A, Jaden Daniels, B, Marvin Harrison Jr., or C, Bo Nix. I'm going to say Bo Nix because it sounds like a cool name. And I'm not going to tell you if that's right or wrong. Give us your answers. I can't even ask the question again. There are so many sort of aspects to that sentence and brackets, and it doesn't make any sense. Russ has guessed correctly. It's B, Marvin Harrison. I wanted it to be Bo Nix. Final question. Question 7. A rare piece of Lego which fell into the sea more than 25 years ago was found by a teenager on a beach in Cornwall. I like this. 13-year-old Leotaurus found the plastic octopus in Marazion after a 2-year-long search. What piece did he say he wanted to find? Hang on a minute. A rare piece of Lego which fell into the sea more than fell into the sea. Right. 13-year-old Leotaurus found the plastic octopus in Marazion, which is near Newlyn, isn't it? after a 2-year-long search. What piece did he say he wanted to find next? A, a dragon, B, submarine porthole, or C, a whale? Jay-Z, what is this? You have entered an alternate realm, a multiverse of madness. And Jay-Z, if you stay here for much longer, you may be infected with the most appalling, like Lego sort of weirdness. So be careful. No, what they're hoping to find next is a dragon. Presumably, this was dropped, was it by them? No, can't be. They were 13. Weird. Who was it dropped by? More questions than answers here. It was A. It was a dragon. It was a dragon. Guys, have a wondrous Friday. As I say, just remember, question everything you read, question everything you see. Don't trust anyone, don't trust anything. In fact, just lock yourself at home and stay there. It's not worth it out there, guys. It really isn't. Have a lovely day. Have a lovely weekend. We'll see you in the morning for Coffee Moaning Papers, followed by the Curly Cooks. And of course, it's Lee Peart, episode 3 will be landing. Juby, 6 out of 7. Good Ship Lollipop, 6. Oh, Nick W, 6. Well done. Lee Peart's On the Piece, episode 3, landing tomorrow. Will the romantic infatuation with Valentino, will it lead anywhere? Or will it just lead to getting very drunk? Guys, have a lovely